Hit record, go!
So in this video, we're gonna go to a house. Technically, it is a cabin house, loft style, incredibly huge, awesome, epic house. But the difference between this house and normal houses is the entire thing is a recording studio. We've been to a few of these on the channel, but this one is truly epic. It's just the right word to use. You'll see when we get there. And our guest today is none other than John Osborne from Brothers Osborne. John is incredible guy, super nice dude, father, husband, shredder on guitar, absolute incredible guitar collection, and incredible home studio. House studio, I don't know. Let me know in the comments. What is it? Is this studio in a house? Really remarkable place, super grateful that he invited us to come hang out and check it out. I think you guys are gonna really enjoy this video. Their latest album, which they just released, is called Brothers Osborne. It's really great. Mike Elizondo produced it. Sounds absolutely phenomenal. Some great songs on there. Link down below, stream it wherever you stream stuff. Before we go through this studio, I wanna thank Sweetwater for sponsoring another one of these epic studio tours. If you see anything interesting in this studio tour and you want to check it out, check my links down in the description that take you to Sweetwater. They carry pretty much everything. I got rid of my console. Did you see that? And I changed this whole thing up. We got a couple of these cool BAE racks here, these little 500 series racks, and filled them up with some newly beloved EQs. I just put out a video actually on the undertone ones over on my second channel, Studio Time. If you haven't seen that, that's where I'm doing a lot of the fun gear videos. Check that out in the description as well. Studio Time is the name of that channel. If you want to pick some new stuff up or whatever, go check out sweetwater.com. Links in the description. Thank you, Sweetwater, for sponsoring this video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Hit the like button. Let us know what you think of the studio down in the comments. And let's go check out John Osborne's epic studio.
Buddy.
Dude,
thank you
It's a
so
pleasure
much.
to finally meet you, finally hang.
yes,
Big fan.
man. Hey, big fan of yours. This is long awaited.
Yes.
I remember when you sent me that little clip a while back. I was like, we got to get in there.
Yeah, I think after the 30th video I've watched, I was like, maybe I should do one of these. So then I had to buy all this stuff for a studio.
All right, tell me about this house.
It's cool. It's a vibe. It's 5 doors down from my house. And I know how busy I am. If it was like a mile away, I would never go to it. It would sit empty. I put an offer in, I bought it, and it's kind of what you'll see when you go in there. It was, for the most part, I didn't change anything. It was all ready to go.
Nice little outdoor area, beautiful, quiet part of town, East Nashville. There's not a lot of houses that are this unique, actually.
Yeah, it's really unusual.
Cool.
So this is like the farthest northeast you can go in East Nashville before it becomes Madison. And like the river, we live right on the river. And it's really quiet. It feels like we're 30 minutes from downtown.
Yeah.
Given the time of day, sometimes it is 30 minutes to downtown. But really, it's a quick jump, and I'm right near everything. And at this point in my life, I'm all about convenience. Convenience is crucial.
Well, funny enough, I know it's a cabin and everything, but the thing that caught my eye was this door. I was like, wow, this is like a real door.
This is just a door. Yeah.
But it's rare in the East Nashville scene to find houses with good, high quality stuff.
Yeah, that's how I bought the door. That's where the tone comes from. It's a tone wood.
Ooh, that does resonate at a nice. So this is crazy, man. Kind of loft.
Yeah, so there was a couple that lived here for the longest time. And it's a great house, a great starter home for somebody. It's really chill. This was the living room at some point. When I saw the U-Haul out in front of the house, I went on the Zillow listing from when they bought it, and I saw so much potential. It just looked vibey as hell. It looked amazing. And when I was able to walk into it for the first time, it's just like, I had to have this spot. And the crazy thing is, like, in this room, I changed nothing with the exception of putting in like some proper studio doors. And there was already a window there because that was an exterior wall at some point. That extra room over there, I think, was a deck that was converted into a sunroom. So there were windows there. I ripped them out and put in proper glass studio doors. But other than that, I mean, nothing really has changed with the exception that used to be a couch. Now it's a 32-channel API desk.
Heck yeah, dude.
A little more expensive than a sofa.
What are you using this for?
You know, like I said, for the longest time, I was doing a lot of production in a spare bedroom in our house. I mean, it's like the last 4 places I lived, I had just a little room with a UAD twin. That was fine. That got me by for the longest time. But I just envied all my friends that had cool studios, and I would go to their places. I'm like, I really want something like this. And then me and my wife and some friends, we went and wrote with Sheryl Crow at her studio. And that was the moment where I was like, this is a vibe. I love this. I want this so bad. I didn't want to leave her place. And that's what I wanted. I wanted a place where I can walk into. I want to start making music right away. I love classic studios. I've recorded in pretty much all of them in town. I love Sound Emporium. That's one of my favorite studios. But then I recorded at Paul Moak's place, who you've worked with, and I love this vibe. You walk in, there's amps everywhere, there's guitars everywhere, there's keyboards, there's pianos, kits already set up, and it makes you want to start recording right away. So this is like my home away from home, where I can come, I can work, I can produce, I can create, and that's it. It's just my home outside of the road.
A lot of rooms here in East or Nashville and maybe just everywhere, it's like a mix of everything's in one room.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a hybrid.
It is a hybrid, yeah. You know, if I could build the studio from the ground up, and I realized why people don't just convert houses normally into studios. I always thought, wow, we'll just take a house and we'll plug some stuff up. It's not like that. I mean, isolation is a big problem. And it's still an issue that I have here, but it's okay, it's manageable. But there's only so much room where I could put places. You know, I've got, that's a great spot for all the keys and stuff. If we do a piano song, we'll track with headphones. Otherwise, you know, we blast the mains and record in here. But it is a hybrid. But I did want it to feel like a house. I don't want it to feel like a studio.
Yeah.
Because we all learned how to play our instruments sitting on a couch.
Yep.
Or we all just practiced in our bedroom. You know, being at a home makes you feel relaxed. And there's so much more to the creative side than all of this. It really mostly is a mental thing. And if you're in a place mentally where you want to create, then I find that like you don't even need all this.
Yeah.
You just need to be in a spot where you're comfortable and maybe a couple cool microphones and a good guitar. And that's really all you need. This is here to capture any of those moments. should they arise.
It's funny how like sometimes going into just like a control room kind of gives you a little bit of that like anxiety.
It is. It's what do they call it? The red light syndrome, the red light scaries, you know. It's funny, I have played on so many projects and I've done it for so long. I still have a little bit of that when I'm in a studio because it feels like budget. You know, we got to be out of here by 1 and you know, I don't want to offend anybody. So it's quite, you feel like something's looming over you the whole time. And in a way that's good. It puts you in the right mindset. Yeah. This isn't necessarily that type of place. No. It's like, we'll come here, we'll take our time, we'll have fun. I mean, we'll just mess around. And I want it to feel like, remember when you would start your first band and you would go over to the drummer, it's always the drummer's house because you're not gonna make that poor drummer lug all of his shit to your house. And he would set up in the basement or whatever. Oh my God, that was the best, right? Yeah. You didn't have the money to go into a studio, but that was where it all began. So I feel like creativity is rooted in those early experiences.
How much of the Brothers Osborne stuff are you doing here?
We have not done any Brothers Osborne stuff. So this has been a functional studio for about 6 months now. I bought it about 1.5 years ago, and what I thought would be a 1-month project turned into a 1-year project, as they do. We did our last record with a guy named Michael Elizondo, who is a phenomenal human being first, but you know, a world-renowned musician, guitar player. And so we haven't done anything, but you know, there are a few things that we recorded. My brother and I won a Grammy a couple years ago with a song called Younger Me, and I did all of that in the bedroom of this house. You know, and I flew the track to our drummer to put some real drums on it, because I was doing, you know, finger drums. And it all worked. And I think that was the moment I was like, okay, like I could do this. You know, I need to make the plunge and actually move into here. You have to have a bit of like blind ignorance going into really anything that pertains to like art and creativity. My thought was like, well, I worked with 1 or 2 channels. You know, I have a microphone for my guitar. You know, at the time I was just plugging my guitar directly into an amp into an aux box, and I was like, I can do this. It's like, you know, a 32 channels plus some other channels, you know, it's just 1 times 32, and I could not have been more wrong about that. However, if it wasn't for that ignorant confidence, I never would have done it. Yeah. You know, and I'm glad that I did because I've learned so much in the last year of putting all this together.
If one thing's wrong on one channel and then you multiply it by 32.
Yeah, that's true.
You start to learn things really fast.
Very fast. And also it's like, we did so much work. Our monitor tech on the road, this guy Logan Hanna, who is ostensibly like the house engineer now for this place. If anyone wants to work here, they call Logan. He knows how the place is wired. He helped wire it. I could not have done it without him. Had it not been for him, none of this would be wired. I have no idea. Like, you look in the back of these things, it's a rat's nest. It's terrifying. I can't even plug in my own damn guitar cable. So to have him here was super helpful. But I think the quickest way that I learned was the first session that we did here. And you realize very quickly where the deficiencies are. Things like, okay, there's a weird input or something like that. We gotta suss that out. Or the patching thing is backwards. Or something as simple as like, we don't have music stands. Like all of these there's 1,000 tiny little things that you need to suss out before you can get a studio up off the ground. And it took way longer than I thought. But again, I feel like if I had to do it all over again, I've learned so much. You know, I just want to build another studio. I want to build a whole mess of them. I love it.
Well, sick. Can we just do a little walkthrough and check out all these little zones here?
So I wanted to get double screens because I always thought that looked really professional. When people had 2 screens, it makes them look expensive. But no, honestly, I'm a Pro Tools guy, but I also use the UAD console for things. So I have Pro Tools up here, console over here. It's great for when I'm working alone because I could pull up stuff really quickly. I do write in here as well. So that I'm not gonna be like, okay, hang on one sec, let me go like patch some stuff in, let me get a sound, or let me do all this stuff. I work pretty much exclusively in console, just so I can be very quick in the creative process. Now working with a band and everything, we have access to all the outboard gear and everything you could ever want. I love the Apollo stuff. I have never been led astray by it, and I'm very happy with it. People go on and on about converters, and it's all very expensive and very hard to get. It was right around COVID era, so it was impossible to get anything. And I'm very, very happy with that. But I've got all the stuff, you know? I mean, again, this is from years of me playing in studios and going, okay, what is this? What is that? What is that? What is that? Annoying the hell out of every engineer I've ever worked with until I got to a point where I realized, you know, what was plugged into what. I'm like, basses always go into that. Why? And they explain, you know, an optical compressor. This is an old 60s LA2A, got off of a friend, a dear friend of mine who passed. His name is Keith Gaddis. Keith is an amazing musician, singer, songwriter, producer, and he passed unexpectedly. So I bought a few things off of him and his family to keep it in our musical family. One of my favorite engineers is a guy named Justin Ryan Francis. Justin is a dude, I've known him for a very long time, and he hipped me to the transient designer.
Oh yeah.
I've always used it in the box and I didn't love it. It never did what I thought it was going to do. And then he showed me the hardware version of it and it did exactly what I thought it was going to do.
Yeah.
It is amazing. This whole like sustain and negative sustain, you could take, you know, he loves using it on a mono overhead. You do like, you blast the sustain. It sounds like you lifted the overhead mic up 30 feet in the air. And then you do negative sustain and it sounds like the mono overhead like on top of the snare drum. It gets really tight, really fast. So this thing has blown my mind. And I love access to things like while we're working here and I don't have to run into that room and mess with microphones a lot. You know, like having, like kind of setting it up the way you want and then having as much control out here is key, is crucial. And creativity is very fleeting. It can go away very fast. So when you have an idea, at least for me, and I would probably speak for most people, that idea can last 5 seconds.
Oh yeah.
You know, and the second you're like, okay, let me go move this mic, and you come back in here, you're like, okay, what was I doing? And it's gone. So having things very quick, pinned, ready to go is crucial for those moments. Because it's all about creativity. I mean, this is nothing without those little bursts of ideas and inspirations, you know?
Well, also sometimes even like if you remember the part, you just being in a different state.
Yeah.
And then playing it again, you're like, it's not that cool.
I know.
And then you're like, whoa.
I know. Honestly, like I'll cut scratch acoustics sometimes if it's like if I'm producing something, there's not an acoustic player. I'll like build a little, you know, loop or something to play to, and I'm like, all right, we'll play to this. I'll replace it later. I go to replace it, and I'm like, sounds awful. Like, what's going on? I go back to the scratch. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I wasn't thinking about it. I was in the moment. Now I'm trying. So you have to be prepared for those moments because they will go away very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's like almost impossible to get them back.
Yeah. And then you have this API console. Okay, so this is 32 channel 1608. Is
Yeah,
that
the
right?
1608 with a 16 channel expander. I love APIs. We all love APIs. Who doesn't? And I found this on Marketplace, strangely. You know, I, like you and everyone else in the world, like I'm always on Marketplace.
Yeah.
I still do Craigslist, dude. Like musicians still post on Craigslist. Do not sleep on it. And I'm on Reverb like crazy. So in my mind, I was like, I love this platform because it's easy.
Yeah.
You know, there's no automation because I'm not going to mix in here. And frankly, I have no business mixing in general. It's very, very simple. Like it's just in my mind, you know, this is to Pro Tools, gain. This sends echo send to here, which I don't really mess with, but that's for smart engineers. And then EQ, and then the rest is kind of like that's it. Like my brain, it works for my brain. So I went on Reverb. I found one in Chicago. Like the next day, one popped up on Marketplace, and it was in Franklin. So I went and bought it, and I was like, yeah, we'll just load the. I'm such an idiot. I'm like, yeah, I guess we'll just pick it up, and then we'll put it in a truck or something. And we get there, and it's just like the guy packed it really well. Every module was taken out in its own bubble wrap. And I was like, oh, that's how you do it. I don't know, man. I've never seen any. I've only ever seen them sitting in a room somewhere. I didn't realize people actually had to put them together, of which I did not, because I'm far too dumb to do that. And the cool thing about the UAD stuff for people like me, this is just easy, right? It's just gain and output. But like, it got me used to working with these. And I always saw them. I knew what they were EQs, but it just, in my brain, I was just used to working with a tone knob on a guitar.
Right.
And because of messing with them in the box, I had a head start. So once we put these in, I kind of, in a way, already knew how to use them.
Yeah.
Where I wasn't learning from scratch. And, you know, same thing as the Moog stuff. You know, Airband. Everyone loves the Airband. Same thing in there, 560s, 550s. These are all Cappy, by the way. Cappy is
Oh, nice.
the best, and it's local. This is like the weird, the Pultec EQP 1A, is that right? But a 500 series version of it. Again, I wouldn't have known how to use that had I not had it in just a digital version. I had a little bit of a head start. Now this is a nightmare. I hate it so much. I have figured out how to use it eventually, but to have an engineer explain how to use it is not great. If like a guitar player wanted to know how to use it, I could help them.
Yeah.
Do not ask an engineer. They're way too smart. They know way too many things. For dum-dum like me, it's like it's just in and out. That's in and out. That's really kind of it. And once I figured out once I mastered it, but once I figured out how to get a microphone to make noise through that thing, I thought I was like Andrew Sheps or something. I was like, I did it. I have arrived.
Heck yeah, dude. So I had mentioned earlier, it reminds me of Butch's setup. You're using it the same way. This is all front end.
Yes, all front end, exactly.
So your inputs are hitting the board, you unmute them, and it shows up. I even love how you have it labeled API 29, 30, 31.
Yeah. Again, it has to be made for stupid John. Like, honestly, we all have our brains and they work a certain way. I'm like, let's just make it like this so I know where everything is. And we never label instruments here. It's just because that will always change.
Sure.
But this is all front end. I mean, it's just gain. That's really it. You've got all the buttons for phantom, padding, all the stuff like that, mic, line, phasing, or whatever. But this is all front end. Everything hits this first. If it's not hitting that, it's hitting one of the 1073 and a couple other stuff as well. I don't do any mixing here. I can mix in the box fairly well if I'm doing some sort of ancillary performance stuff for the band or whatever. But for a project, I send to a proper mix engineer. I don't have the sauce for that. But yeah, this is all front end. And I know there's an element of like not heavily EQing on the way end, but I kind of love the idea of committing for a couple of reasons. When you're working the day of and things sound cool, it just keeps the wheels moving. It keeps the inspiration going. When you make everything kind of dull, but we could fix it later, it's not as inspiring. Another problem with going in as flat as you can is that when you get in the box, the options are unlimited. And you end up with just for me, I've like scrolled the presets, I'm messing with this plugin, what if I mess with this plugin? It's like an hour later, I'm just like messing with the top snare mic. I'm like, what am I doing? So if you just kind of go in, commit, I love the way this sounds. Again, nothing too crazy, but it kind of paints you into a corner in a good way.
Yeah. Just
so you don't drive yourself nuts with plugins, because we all do it.
Also, we're here, we're in the studio.
It's
right there.
We're in the studio. And also, man, it's like, it's more stuff that it's going through. It's more power, it's more transformers, it's more op amps. It's going through, it's all got the juice,
Yeah.
Like I was saying earlier, everything's a death by 1,000 paper cuts in the studio. It's not one thing that's going to make a difference. 1,000 tiny things will make a difference. And it really impressed me once we got everything up and running, how much of a difference it did make. That it sounds very cohesive and together.
Absolutely.
We've all pieced things together with a bunch of different things, and it takes a lot of work. You can get it to sound balanced and even, but this is like glue. It glues everything together.
All right, a couple housekeeping things here. You said Pro Tools, Apollos.
Yep.
We've got the Focal. What are these? The twins? Solo twins or something like that?
Solo twins, yeah.
And then the Big Trio 11s.
Yeah, those things rip. Don't you have those?
I had the 6s before.
Yeah, those things.
They're a little smaller than those. Those
absolutely
are huge.
Rip. The weird thing about this room and pretty much any untreated room is that it's not treated. So, like, it's not bad, but you can hear as we're talking, there's a little bit of a decay.
Big ceiling.
Big ceiling. And they're like, well, we can float, what do they call them, clouds, whatever?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but it's this decision you have to make of like, how much vibe do we want to lose for the practical side of things? And it's okay, like, you gotta find that balance. But fortunately, Justin Francis hipped me to Sound ID, and he came in here, he did it all through the microphone systems, whatever. I just sat back and watched him. Suddenly I was like, oh my God, it sounds like a treated room.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to do anything. Like, we can keep the vibe. It's a lot of low end build up, a lot of like low mid mud that I was getting before. And then immediately it sounded beautiful and balanced. And I get to keep my room.
Yeah.
I'd rather do it this way for it to feel like a house than to start putting up baffling. And I do want to mention though, there's a really important piece of gear in this studio. It's actually out on the porch. I bought this like chair at World Market. It was like a crappy $100 rolly chair, and I used it all the time. Actually loved it, but it did not look professional. And eventually, it hit the skids. And that day, I went to a studio to do some interviews with my brother, and I noticed there was all these just chairs laying around. I'm like, hey man, can I just buy one of these chairs? He's like, no. He goes, I'll do you one better. And he went in the back. He came back with this thing. I was like, yeah, this is perfect. This will work. I'll pay you. He goes, no, don't worry about it. He goes, I want you to have it. This was when they decommissioned Emerald Studios. They brought a bunch of chairs and stuff out, but this was Tony Brown's personal chair that he sat in when he recorded like all the George Strait records and stuff like that. So this is actually a really, really cool piece of kind of history.
Yeah.
I love sitting my big old ass in it, knowing that Tony Brown sat his little ass in it. And I was just strangely proud of this chair.
That's hilarious. Well, that's nice. Yeah, it's nice to have some little, piece of someone else.
Yeah, it is. And also like I didn't realize why people spend all the money on the chairs. You sit so much and it's just like, gravity.
Wears on you.
Gravity kicks your ass. So, but I love this chair. Very proud of it.
Heck yeah. Let's check out some of these other zones here.
Yeah, man. So I'm gonna do my best. I don't know a lot about microphones, but I'll do my best. Again, everything is wired and ready to go. Sometimes when there's a session, people come in and move stuff on the patch bay, but these are always wired. I never wanted a moment of like someone going, oh, I want to put down a cool piano thing. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna grab some microphones. Let's wire it up. And again, it's all about the inspiration. That goes away very quickly. So this is all wired to the patch bay. You can patch it up. Typically, if I have a big session going, everything's wired and ready to go. Just kind of your like basic synth stuff, like that kind of everyone uses and needs. Everyone needs a Mellotron. Juno's classic, the Oberheim is the OBX, and this right here, which is an incredible synth, the Mini Moog. This all goes to here, and I've got a few effects pedals that are in the chain, and this is 2 channels back to the API. So if you want to put down a Juno, I'm like, great. If you want, the next thing you want to do is you want to do the Mellotron, it's just ready to go. It's on. I mean, technically I leave all of these on, so you don't have to actually arm anything. You just open up another track and you go.
Yeah.
And hopefully it takes no longer than 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Because that feeling is there. What I'm trying to do in this place is just capture that immediate moment of inspiration, because that is priceless. There's not a piece of gear in the world that will make up for that. There's not a plugin in the world that will make up for that. It's that immediate thing.
Yep.
That's why sometimes people use scratch vocals for the main vocal, because they were capturing a moment. It's all about moments. I like the fact that if you're working on this piano, you just look at a butt for inspiration. I don't know if that's going to demonetize you or not.
Hit the like button to counter as a counteroffensive against the demonetization.
This is the world. Again, everything's pinned, ready to go.
Do you play keys?
A little bit. I can be a paperweight on a synth and do that. When it comes to this world, no. However, if someone does, it's ready to go.
Yeah, sounds great.
At a moment's notice.
Sick.
So this room is where most of the change.
So this is the vibe, so everyone can feel it.
When I bought the place, this initially was windows all the way around, from there to there to there, and it was amazing. I walked in here, I was like, oh my God, could you imagine recording just like in a room where there's all this light? You realize why that doesn't happen very quickly. I brought in a drum kit and I just put a snare in the middle of the room, and I walked out to the street and I told my wife, I was like, just take this drumstick and like blast it. Like just start smacking the snare drum. I walked out the street and it sounded like the snare drum was just right in front of me. And I realized, okay, this is going to be an issue. And then I would come in here and I would sit with it being quiet to see if I could hear any cars. You could hear a damn bicycle going down the street. So unfortunately, I had to ditch all of the windows and then do some extra isolation. It's not perfect, but you don't hear most things.
And it's a sweet room, though.
It's a great room. And then I had this wall. I didn't know what to do with it, and I had all these extra rugs. I'm like, let's just put up some rugs and help tighten the room up a bit. I love tighter drum sounds, as we all do, punchy, tight. Yep. And we have plugins that can make things sound like you recorded them in Abbey Road, Ocean Way, a huge room or whatever. This does the trick, and it's a vibe. The previous drummer that I had in here is, I think he's 6'6".
Yeah,
so like he's really tall. So that's why his kick,
I was gonna say
he plays. It's like, yeah, he's just too tall to have it to sit up normally, and that's just how it was. I don't know.
very spaced out.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool for the engineering side of things because you get a little more separation.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do. But it just kind of messes with my brain a bit. But all the stuff, like Coles, you can't go wrong. I'm a huge fan of Soyuz. Have you done anything with Jeremy Ferguson? Battle tapes?
Ferguson. No.
He's just
I don't
right
think
around the corner from here. He's a beast. He's awesome.
These are the 17 tubes.
Yep, the 17s. And he tracked a vocal, and I was like, that is one of the most amazing sounding vocals I'd ever heard. Not to mention, they look so cool.
Oh, yeah.
And then I tracked an acoustic guitar on that same mic, and I was like, this is blowing my mind. And then I used, which I have on the upright out there, the pencil condensers, the two ones.
Oh, yeah, the 13s.
Yeah, and it's just like, I loved every bit of it. So I went ham. I got like everything that they had to offer. I have the bomblet as well that I use for an outside mic. Just this recent session, we were using the Steger big boy.
That's right, Steger.
Local guys, man, Madison, just right up the street. We use a lot of different snare mics, and I always go back to the trusty 57s. Honestly, if you have a little studio and you can't splurge on a bunch of microphones, just buy like 5 or 6 57s.
Yeah.
They're like the Swiss Army knife. I've tracked acoustic guitars with those. A really nice 67 with that, because it's mid-range heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds awesome, you know?
SM7s are also great.
SM7s, I have like 5 of those in the studio because they just work for everything. You don't need all of the expensive, crazy stuff. The difference isn't as big as you would think it is. But again, death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Sure.
It's a bunch of microphones make the difference. I just got into the AEA stuff. I love ribbon microphones. But they could be dark and they have a lot of character. I find theirs to give you the warmth of a ribbon, but they still sound open and they don't sound like this. Like a lot of old RCAs can sound like they're muffled a little bit, but I absolutely love that. Again, this is all from a previous session. Don't ask me why these mics are the way they are. I think one got bumped. I don't know.
This is the secret placement.
Yeah. But this is it, it's quite simple. But again, everything's plugged in, ready to go. I did learn a really great term called normaling.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what the hell that was. But this is normal to the console. After about an hour explanation, my dumb brain eventually got it. So this all goes to a snake, which is right here. You don't have to have anything hooked up in the patch bay at all.
Yeah.
You just plug it right into there, goes straight to the console, straight to Pro Tools, you can start recording. Again, for my brain, I was like, I want to come in here. I don't want to overthink it. I'm not an engineer. I love and appreciate engineering and engineers, but I want to be able to walk in here and start making sound with as little friction as possible. So you plug in, you're ready to go. Sounds easy. I've tried it though. I sound like shit, but it works.
All right, so this is the tracking room for the studio, like the main one. So you've got drums in here. You've got some cabs out here.
Yeah, these are all combos I leave out here, and through there you can see where all the amplifiers are. I've got a whole rack of cabs. All of this connects through the ART, similar to the Synth world, and that goes into 2 channels into the board. I have everything wired through these effects pedals. Going direct with these are great, that's the sound, but sometimes you want an amp sound. My brain was like, I do not want to set up an amplifier for like 1 clavinet pass. I bought the Strymon Iridium.
I just got my first Strymon the other day. I'm super excited.
I love Strymon. I'm a huge fan, as you could tell. Like it's one of my favorite companies. They did digital right before anyone else did. An amp and cab modeler, IR and plus response. You turn this off, direct sound. You turn it on, immediate amp sound. Again, no one could tell the difference. I can't tell the difference, and I'm a guitar player and I use amps every day.
You got everything you need. The Lex is like the rotary, right?
Yeah, exactly. Lex is rotary. This is an amazing tremolo and verb. Blue Sky is like wicked verb. This is like a tape echo. This is one of my favorite echo boxes out there.
That's the one I just got.
The Capistan?
I'm super excited.
Everyone's got a Capistan. It's like industry standard. Yes. They're awesome. And have you messed with like the secondary functions and stuff
I
like
just
that?
plugged it in and I just look at it. I haven't tried.
You don't have to mess. You don't have to change anything, but there's some cool secondary functions that you can get into. Don't have to mess with it though. It's just a great pedal. It sounds like $1,000,000. I've got real tape echoes. Sounds just as good. The Chroma console. They made pedals that are way too complicated for my simple, feeble mind. This is very like guitar player friendly.
Yeah.
And this is immediate vibe. Like this thing, you can get vibes so quick. B3, we all know what those do. I do have an effects loop on the B3, so you can hit it before the Leslie downstairs.
Nice.
I love reverb mods. I don't have a spring. I mean, I have a spring somewhere, but I'm like, why have a spring when I could just have a million different options?
Yeah.
So you get that really cool left-right reverb thing that happens downstairs where the Leslie cabinet is. I've got both going through here, and it's just vibes. Again, if you're like, you want to put distortion on it, we'll just like throw a dirt box up there. It's really cool.
Sick. It's nice that it's like a perfect little pedal station.
I don't really play keys, but when I'm working with someone that is a keys player, I'm like, hey, sit at the whirly, and then I'll just get over here and like, you know, throw some headphones on and twist knobs until I'm like, I know the sound that I'm looking for, I just don't know how to play that damn thing. So it's just kind of, it's awful.
I feel you, bro.
Yeah, and I'll just get over and twist knobs where I'm like, that's a vibe. All right, we'll like track with that. It makes me feel like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
The whole thing was about tricking yourself and other people.
And the leg lamp.
Yes, dude, that was my dad got me that for Christmas.
Yes.
He was with the major award. Yeah, he got me that for Christmas. I'm like, that is going straight into the studio.
Yep.
But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. I am not a drummer at all, but I do know how to play a little bit. And I've worked so long with samples in the box. Again, working in the box, working with samples, working with digital stuff, it's a great way to introduce yourself to this world, right?
Yeah.
By the way, this is weird that you have this up here. Do you know why this is up here?
Well, for dampening, right?
The snare sound.
Oh, behind you put it
You
behind
put it-
him.
yeah.
Yeah. I use paper, but that's a good one too.
Yeah, well, it's just, this was all we had at the time. Otherwise, it's just, and then you get used to samples and you go, okay, well, why does that sound like this? Why does it sound like this? And then I would ask my drummer friends, like I had Fred Eltringham in here. I'm like, what 2 snares do I need to get? Like, we got to get a Black Beauty and a Supraphonic. So I immediately went on Reverb, done, purchased. Every time another drummer would come in here, I'm like, what am I missing? Well, you need like more of a woody snare. Try like old Gretsch round badge. Bought it. And I did that and so I could build up an arsenal. Again, it's all about getting people in here to work and having access to sounds as soon as possible, which is what I loved a lot about Smokestack. You're a drummer, so you might appreciate like these old 20s Ludwigs. They're like,
Oh yeah,
fuck
those
is-
little throw-offs.
It is like kind of like New Orleans-y. It's like they're from the 20s, and it's like it was like $400 or something like that.
Oh my
And
gosh.
apparently they're made out of the same material as the Black Beauty. It's just
Oh,
black.
okay.
If they use what is
Black over chrome or something like
yeah.
that?
So it's instead of black over chrome, it's just chrome. I just don't know a lot about.
I actually
things.
don't either. Someone's for sure gonna be like, "You're an idiot."
I
It's
know,
not black
dude.
over
I
chrome."
know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I offended anybody. I don't know a lot, but I know a lot of people. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
I don't know a lot, but I know a lot of people that know a lot, and I just like am the world's most curious nerd. I have no ego about anything because an ego keeps you from learning and growing and expanding. And I am just the kid that was always asking a million questions and annoying his parents. I have not changed. So whenever I found something cool, this is Acrolite. Apparently everyone's got to have an
Oh, yeah.
Acrolite.
Yeah.
You know, our drummer swears by them. This is a cool, maybe it's a local company called Breadwinner. And then gas, gear acquisition syndrome, we all have it.
Not me. No way.
Yeah.
No way.
And I went to Nelson Drum Shop, and they're amazing there, and just started buying up all the stuff. And I got, this is, are you hip to the Nashville-made Slingerlands?
No.
They Slingerland made
No, I didn't.
kits in Nashville for a few years, and they're bad to the bone.
Oh, that's slick.
That's Maple. There's a drummer named Greg Morrow. Do you know who Greg Morrow is? Session drummer, one of the best in the world. But I've always loved this kit he played, and it was a Nashville-made Slingerland. Old transition badge Ludwig, the sparkly big Ludwig, the big old kick drum
Yeah,
for
that's
you
huge.
for you Bonham fans out there.
Yeah.
Again, an upright bass, which is weird. I was an upright bass player in college. Having it there, out of the case, it's like, hey, we need an upright. Just go grab it really quick. And we'll just grab a mic and we'll just put it in front of it.
I love the clash of every like pro studio tool you can need, and then like kind of the raw nature of just this, like even the cabin floor, you know?
Yeah, and I know like the idea is to have concrete and really dense.
No,
or
dude, I bet
whatever.
this sounds sick.
I put intentionally the drums are here because there's a beam and you can feel it. Like it's leaning and everything. This was a deck at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got deck wood. You could see it like this was just this was a deck wood that someone, coated. Because this was a deck that they turned into a sunroom that I turned into a live tracking room. But there is a beam that runs through the house right here. So I planted the kick on it to keep it as sturdy as possible. But it's still, I mean, it still moves. Everything's moving. I've never had a problem with it.
It's like a stage.
Yeah, exactly, man. And right over there's a little vent in the floor, which was great because I couldn't figure out where the hell that sound was coming from. Where is that sound coming from? It's in the kit. And I'm going through all the different mics. I'm like, it can't be is it a patch? Is it a ground problem? I realized it was just that going.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right in the overhead or something.
Yeah, all the things you don't think about until it happens. But this is it, it's pretty, it's vibey, it's weird. I have those curtains that if you want to open them up and try and get a brighter sound in here, but I've never felt the need to do it. I don't feel like I'm ever missing anything. It does exactly what I want to. Plus I'm too lazy. Too much work.
A lot of engineers are that way. Like, you know what, just whatever. It's let's just go.
The idea is cool, and like when you have the idea, and then putting it into practice, you're like, oh, but like, this is gonna take 2 minutes of work. And again, 2 minutes is a long time, dude. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
20 seconds is a long time. You just want to leave it.
Yep.
When the mics are all set up, you get the sound that you want. You do all the stuff ahead of time when you're not being creative. You got to be very practical about it. But once you start a note, everything's got to be quick after that because creativity is what fuels this entire industry. None of this would be necessary if it wasn't for that immediate burst of creativity,
Absolutely.
Tracking electric guitar is actually quite different to performing, as is anything, but I found that playing electric guitar with headphones for the first time is awful. Like, you play in a club, you've got a kit behind you, and then your amp is behind you, usually hitting you in the back of the legs, and that's the sound you're used to hearing for years.
Yeah.
Then you put headphones on, and you're like, what is this awful sound? A microphone that far away from a speaker, right?
Yeah.
So you never play guitar and you listen to your tone like that. So we tracked in here recently, and this great guitar player named Grace Bowers, she wanted to play with her amp in the room. And I didn't want to do it in there because of isolation issues. And if we wanted to, punch or edit or anything like that, it gets really problematic. One of the engineers had the idea of putting the amp up there. So she tracked in here with her amp up there. The vocals were like maxed. It was the loudest session I've ever been a part of. And it sounded like you were playing like in a club. And it was cool. It was really fun. I was walking around with headphones that weren't even plugged in just to protect my what's left of my ears. And so we actually utilized that kind of dead space up there. So it's really fun. Again, stuff you would do in a house, because you have to. It's like the practical nature. But this world,
it's amazing.
This is all of these are plugged in. Well, most of these are plugged into this amp switcher called an amp. I also have an aux box. I love the aux box. Do you use one?
Oh yeah.
They're amazing. It's what I used before I was able to like do this thing. And I still use it because it's great. It sounds like $1 million. It's easy, it's quick. You can dial in sounds like that. But if I want to use the amp, I have a big old vintage Marshall downstairs, and I have like a Vox, AC30 style cab downstairs, a couple other cabs, and I have them like everything runs into here. So I get to select like what amp I want to use. And then over here is the cab that you want to use, and that all goes downstairs. One of the cab functions goes to here. So if I'm like, I don't like any of the sounds I'm getting, I just go there, go straight to the box. It's quick, it's easy, sounds like $1 million. And it's great for me because, these all have their own characteristics. I can be playing something, and I'm like, what does that sound like? What does that sound like? What does that sound like? What is that? I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's it's fast. I'm not having to go, and then you got to go back here.
Oh, no.
Again, the feeling is gone.
Yep.
So it's very quick, and again, that all goes to the patch bay. This is just pedal stuff, echo boxes, that I don't use as frequently as I thought I would because, again, they're finicky. I've had them all worked on, but they're still noisy. They're finicky.
Yeah.
But it's like when you need the sound, this all goes to here. So, you know, if you don't want it, just leave them off. It's like, I want the Echoplex, boom, just turn it on. It's ready to go.
Oh, cool.
Very fast, very quick, because that's everything. And I have everything plugged into this Variac. Nashville power is notoriously weird. It goes up and down, especially at night. It gets really hot. So with old amps, like this is vintage, vintage, vintage. You don't want to be like sending over 120 to these amps. So have it all going to there, which seems kind of crazy that it works, but I don't know the science behind it. It just does.
Yeah.
And I'll take you back here. This room I've not finished yet. The first session rolled around. Well, I had to get this room happening. It's lacking some vibe. Those were windows at some point that I had to cover up again because I tell you what the loudest sound in the world is, a leaf blower. Guy could be down the street, like 10 houses, and it's just that. So I had to take these windows out or whatever. But everything in here works. I had to put those baffles in front of the guitars because apparently when you play guitar, it also makes other guitars want to play while you're playing.
Yep.
But 67, one of my favorite microphones. It just works in everything. Like I have a mic locker or some other stuff. I have a Flea 47 that's amazing, but I've always preferred 67s just because they kind of are friendlier. I feel like I can put them anywhere and they just sound great. So, 67, classic. We all know what those do. It's like, this is a new one. The funny thing about vintage microphones, it's like vintage guitars. They all sound different. I absolutely love it, straight out of the box. I worked a lot on our first 3 records with Jay Joyce, who is, an absolute sonic wizard, freak of nature. And it was the first time I was playing an acoustic guitar pass, and I looked at the microphone going, what is that? Yeah. Why does my acoustic sound like this? What's going on? And it was this microphone. It's a Neumann 582 tube pencil condenser, and it has a nickel capsule. Apparently that's the thing. Yeah. And I've played through other ones that don't have the nickel capsule, and it does sound different. It's just like the silkiest acoustic guitar sound. I mean, it's right in your face, but it's just not harsh. That's probably my favorite mic in the studio. That was the first old mic I bought. So when I was tracking in my bedroom, I knew like I'm gonna splurge, and this was the guitar, and all the acoustics I played out of that place were done through this microphone. Love it. Old stuff's finicky. You gotta get it worked on. You think you drop a couple grand on a microphone, you'll spend another grand just getting it up off the floor. Weirdo guitars, cases back there, several acoustics. But again, if you're playing and you're like, I don't like the sound, you don't have to go to grab a case and start opening stuff up.
Yeah.
Just grab one off the wall, start working.
Yeah.
It's all about that inspiration.
I love that, you're such a wizard guitar player, and we could go down the rabbit hole on guitars, but I feel like it would be...
I'm not gonna do that. There's a time and a place for the guitar talk, and probably not this.
I'm just looking, I'm like, wow, but I don't even want to open that can of worms.
I know, man, I know. It's like, it's all about just having options.
Yeah.
That are at your disposal. And I won't go too far down it, but you've got to like have some version of a J45 or a J50 or which one is this? This is J50, because that is the sound. That's like the classic acoustic guitar sound that we're all used to hearing. I just bought this the other day. This is a J55, but this is like more of a dreadnought sounding thing.
Big boy.
And it's just, it's a big boy. And then some cheapos, man. I mean, you gotta have like a Sovereign that does its thing. This is like kind of mid-size, so it's honkier. The inlay doesn't make it sound better. It's just the sound size of the box. Rubber bridge, and it's just here, here. And if someone's working in there, like coming in the studio, I'm like, just play anything.
Yeah.
There's nothing is off limits. Just classical guitar. It's just about having tones at your disposal. But this room in particular, my ambition for this room is to like make it feel like a proper den, and like put like a couch.
Oh yeah.
And like have guitars around, so it makes it feel like you're in a living room playing. But again, I had to get to work. That's just all it is.
Cases. Yeah, that's what no one talks about is
I know.
Where's all the cases?
I know. The cases are one thing you don't think about. I mean, it's like a shithole back here. They gotta go somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's not even the half of them. There's a bunch downstairs.
There's got to be half of the storage lockers in Nashville have just filled with cases.
Literally. I mean, on the road too, it's just something that you don't think about. Every guitar that's in one of those vaults also has a case attached to it that just sits in a bay somewhere.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's getting there. Like, this is basically just to hide this grotesque
I just saw that earlier. I was
press
like,
board.
I was like, let's get some window.
I know, dude. It was a shame because it was a window, man. You're
Yeah.
tracking in here and it's sunny. It's awesome.
So loud.
Second that a leaf blower pops up, it's the only thing you could hear in a track.
They only do it when you're about to track.
Only. I swear. They're just like, they've got like someone in the bushes watching.
Yeah.
Like, all right, he hit record, go! And that's it. Upstairs is just like an empty bedroom. I might eventually put a bed up there in case someone wants to fly in and use the studio. And,
Yeah.
But that's it, man. That's kind of the long and short of it. I'll show you my new favorite purchase if you're curious.
Yeah. What do you got?
This is like the Maestro rhythm and sound, like
Oh.
guitar multi-effects unit. Like one of the original multi-effects units. And I just got it yesterday. I haven't even plugged it in. Again, a reverb purchase I've been looking at for a long time. You know, it's got like bass drum, bongo, and it's a percussion sound. What it does that's really cool is, like, let's say you want to do a fuzz sound or whatever. It sounds funky, but if you do like a bongo sound and you mix it in, it's almost like an attack, you know, like everything in this world is all about the transient.
Yeah.
Got it? The transient is everything. So this adds like another like tick of attack in front of every note. So it just sounds super percussive when you're playing. Nerdy shit.
That's fun.
Yeah. No more.
Well, good stuff, man. Thank you so much for inviting me out here to do this.
Yeah, I'm glad that we finally did it, brother. Yeah.
Yeah. What's next? What do you got?
Well, I've got a few projects that I'm buttoning up this week. I've got someone coming by in an hour to finish some overdubs. I have someone coming by after that to do some vocals. I'm trying to get as much done until we go back into rehearsals at the end of this week. Once we go into rehearsals, I'm on the road. This is going to be very empty for a minute.
Okay.
Gotta go back to my day job.
Yep.
You know.
When we first touched base, you were about to release the record.
Oh, is that how long ago?
That's
it was?
how-
Oh, jeez.
I was like, oh man, this is exciting, and now I've got the whole record memorized.
Yeah, really? Oh man. Sorry, dude. Well,
All right, we ran out of memory, but we're gonna wrap this
I
up.
never had a memory to begin with.
Dude, thank
Good
you.
to see you, brother. Thank you for coming by.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to everyone who watches. You know, I'll put links to you and the band. Go listen to all the music on Spotify or wherever you listen. What do you like?
All of it.
All of it.
As long as it pays.
As long as it
Not
pays.
TikTok, because that doesn't pay apparently.
But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.